It is peak airdrop season. We have one of the biggest airdrops going live next Thursday, which a lot of people on this channel should be allocated to if they followed some of our videos. However, there's so many opportunities. I'm farming between 6, 7, 8 different platforms extremely hard at this point in the market. I want to make sure that if there's free dollars on the ground throughout this cycle, that the users here and myself are picking it up every single opportunity that we have. So I'm going to go over all of the airdrops that are on the table and the 6, 7 or so that I am putting most emphasis on in this market, because I think these will pay off severely. Some of them are under farmed, some of them are in niches, and just the projected token valuation I think is going to be so lucrative for those who put time into these things. And there's no better time to do that than when the market is down. So let's go ahead and talk about the free money in the airdrop space and exactly how we plan to allocate into all of them. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's dive right into it. We have a lot to cover today, but on top of that, I'm going to go through some strategies on all of these different platforms, because now that airdrop season is really in full effect, I think you have to focus in on the really high upside ones. Make sure you diversify, but we're going to go over my exact strategy in this video. But before we get started, guys, as always, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel for more every single day here on In the Game. We have you covered top to bottom, whether the market's down, whether the market's up, with strategies and alpha to make sure we come out on top whenever we do see the market resurge. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors here on In the Game. We have some incredible sponsors from Blowfin, Nexus Labs, Aikido, as well as Gravity and ZK-Sync, which I'm really excited to be working with them for the foreseeable future. Gravity is basically ZK-Sync's native perp dex, and they have an upcoming airdrop. You can trade, you can earn, all the different things you can do on this platform are really, industry standard. I think this competes with Hyperliquid. I think this competes with Aster. You can trade perps. It's completely private, similar to Aster's dark pools as well. But on top of that, this is one of the most secure and quickest platforms in the industry because of ZK-Sync. So if you have not jumped in on this, I think it's a great opportunity. ZK-Sync is so well funded. Gravity is basically like their baby underneath their ecosystem when it comes to perps dexes. Check out Gravity down below. I believe we have a sign up link in the description. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Before we start the airdrop side of it, look, this market is unprecedentedly bad. Like, at this point in time, it's a sit on your hands market until we get a little bit of clarity. I do think that clarity's on the way, but the problem has been the market's over leveraged consistently. People are over emotional. The sentiment flip-flops every green or red candle. And every time that people, see the market go up, they're having PTSD. They want to make sure that they try to catch every top and bottom, but that's not going to happen, guys. So you're not always going to catch the perfect entry. But if you look at the general outlook, to me, it is bullish. If we get clarity on the tariff situation, we get a few more rate cuts. We see Trump saying that China wants to talk, and we like talking to China. China wants to talk. We like talking to China. So, this is exactly the type of things that, I think if this has clarity, we probably see some upside in the future. And on top of that, guys, we see gold price just absolutely rocketing. And as much as this is scary, like what this Twitter account says here, I think this is bullish, because whenever this starts dipping, people are going to come and buy digital gold. So that's my outlook at this point in time. And then on top of that, we have some of our favorite projects announcing some massive initiatives, and they're going to turn this on in the coming months, especially as the market gets bullish. We see XBorg, my favorite low market cap gaming project, and really has ascended to one of my favorite overall gaming project, market cap aside. They had a big update yesterday. Fortune 500 companies interested. They have a big push this quarter, AI, more esports teams coming on, but all revenue is going to buy back XBorg. This is massive. An estimated 1 to 2 million, which is 10% of the circulating supply, will be going towards buyback. So we have a lot to look forward to in the market. I would not really fret over this short-term price action. To me, this is short-term pain. And look, I don't think that 125K or 126K was the top. We did not see the type of euphoria, the type of froth in the market that we had seen around a Trump coin or meme season that marked local tops. I don't really see that at this point in time. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of what everyone came to the show for today, which is airdrops. Look, it is that season at the market. The market is a little uncertain, but a lot of these projects are launching in Q4 with the expectations that things are going to be bullish. And I do completely agree. It's a great time to put new projects, new liquidity into the market. And there's a ton of different narratives we can take advantage of here. And we're going to be consistently referring to this tier list here during this show. And when you look at the top line, I think that those are all very valid. We see MetaMask, Base, Monad, 𝗪𝗓, Pump Fund, all these different ones. A few different things I want to point out. I think that, you don't really need to be farming MetaMask, Ravy, all these different wallets. I think that those, if you have activity on your wallets, I think you should be fine for the most part. There's some of them that I think are over farmed, okay? While I'm farming a perp dex like Lighter, I think that early opportunity on that has kind of passed, right? So there's a few of these I'm obviously not going to jump into, but there are a few I think have such high upside, but also farm different airdrops at the same time. So you're kind of like crossing over by doubling up on some of these airdrops. So let's just jump into some of the things that we know today. Number one, OpenSea. OpenSea did announce today, I think it was this morning. Yeah, this morning, that their TGE is Q1 2026, which is kind of disappointing. I'm not going to lie. It feels like a far out timeline for something that we've been waiting on for quite some time. However, if you've been doing the voyages and just trading on OpenSea in general, you should be set up for a decent airdrop here. 50% of the supply to the community, initial 25% at claim. OGs and farmers are both considered meaningfully. 50% of the revenue will buy back C. Staking and other utility is in the work for the OpenSea's token, as well as new features like perps and cross-chain abstraction. So we did see $2.6 billion in volume, with 90% of that from tokens. So they have really expanded their horizons from NFTs to tokens. If you have not already, dive over on OpenSea, make sure your account's active, scoop up a couple NFTs, go buy a TTOO, get into the community, buy a Nexus Pass, those types of things, or whatever NFT, floats your boat. Make sure you have some recent activities. And if you really want to dig into it, there's farming activities with the voyages. To me, I think it's kind of overblown. Like, they should just be rewarding traders over the course of time, and the farming stuff is kind of just strung on at this point. But it would not be an airdrop show without talking about the news that C is confirmed for Q1 2026. Also a little disappointing that wasn't this year, but it is what it is. Let's also talk about one that comes out next week that you guys should be allocated on this channel, which is Meteora. So Meteora is the biggest DeFi, in my opinion, the best DeFi layer on Solana. You could LP tokens. If you miss a meme coin, we were able to run up fees like crazy here. We had I think one of the best Meteora tutorials on YouTube, and their TGE goes live next Thursday, the 23rd. So Easy Eats here thinks that the token could hit $2 to $2.5, which is 2 billion to 2.5 billion FDV. It would put it right between PancakeSwap and Uniswap. It's currently pre-market at 1.2 billion FDV. Uniswap is at 6 bill, PancakeSwap's at 1.4 bill. Yeah, I could totally see Meteora launching somewhere in that range. But the one thing that we have to decide on before we dig into this is whether you want tokens or whether you want this immediately LP'd. And look, Meteora people are all in. They want to LP their tokens. But I think it's interesting. You see, what you can do is you can opt for them to automatically put your tokens in the fee pool. But the problem here is potential impermanent loss. Now, I'm just going to go on a 10,000 Meteora airdrop allocation. And shout out to 𝗧𝗥𝗏𝗏 for building this tracker. For me, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm taking the tokens, and I will probably go farm fees based on price action and volume on my own with a portion of the token. So I got a really good airdrop coming from Meteora, and you guys should too if you were along the ride during the Meteora really hype train. But if you look here at the different scenarios, you start taking impermanent loss really almost immediately. Like, if it's a $600 million FDV, you're taking impermanent loss on that LP rather than just holding these tokens. So imagine it hits Easy's prediction of $2, which is at 2.5 billion. your market value of 10,000 tokens would be 25K. But if you did the LP, even though you're making fees, your total value of your tokens is only 14.7K because it's selling into USDC, so you have impermanent loss. And yeah, even though you'd make $5,000 in this scenario on fees, let's say 50 million on the ongoing scenario, if you were keeping your tokens in here fully, you'd make $70 a day. To me, the upside on just getting the tokens and doing what you want with them is the play. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I've really thought this over. I've played with this. I don't want the impermanent loss. You know, it's one of those times where people want liquidity. They need liquidity. People have been waiting on this airdrop. And for me, I feel like I can take 25% of my airdrop, throw it back into pools, and make money that way based off the price action with less impermanent loss than if I just went in immediately. So that's what I'm going to be doing on this launch. But let's talk about more that are upcoming. One thing that's here in the good one strategy, and we're going to talk about quickly, is perp dexes. So perp dexes, obviously, Hyperliquid Season 2, we have Lighter, we have Aster, and right now, alongside Hyperliquid, and I think Lighter's good, but it's so saturated now. And one that's going to be undersaturated now is Aster. So the first season, or phase 2 technically, of Aster, I'm going to be honest, was pretty underwhelming. We have a super strong team. I put in a ton of volume. The team put in a ton of volume. And my airdrop was pretty disappointing based off, I felt like the amount of effort and work that went into it, the volume, everything like that. However, that's the sentiment of all of crypto Twitter. Now, Aster's gotten on Robinhood. They're consistently pushing new tokens, and stage 3 of the airdrop is underway. What I've noticed is less people are farming because I have a little bit less points than I did last time around. However, currently my airdrop standing is way higher, and they're giving out 0.5% of the token supply every single week up until November. So you have time to jump in here. I'm pretty sure I'm in like one of the top percentiles of this, and my points this time around are so much lower. So there's a good opportunity here to get a pretty solid airdrop, because now this went from the most farmed airdrop in the space to, oh, my airdrop wasn't that great, I'm just going to move on. I don't think you should move on. I think if you're dedicated to this, this will definitely pay out. And I'm an Aster bull as far as price action in the future, but just to be completely honest, this is free money. If you're trading perps, if you're doing anything like that, this is a great opportunity. So I would recommend check out the link down below, join our team. We have the maximum multiplier. We have a crazy amount of people on there just absolutely grinding this airdrop. So link down below in the description for our Aster team. But I think phase 3 is going to be much more lucrative than phase 2 because it is less saturated. Also on the perp dex size, I wouldn't necessarily just be farming Hyperliquid by putting volume through Hyperliquid. What I'd be doing right now is using Project X. Now, you might be wondering, okay, first of all, Hustle, what is Project X? So Project X is one of the top DeFi protocols on HyperEVM. So what you can do here, this is one of those opportunities throughout the show. And actually the next 3 that I talk about are double dipping as far as the airdrops that you can get. So not only are they 3 different platforms, but you could potentially get 6 different airdrops off of these. And I'm going to be honest, these are the ones I'm focused on the most. Like, I think that putting more effort into these, you know, I have good lighter points. There's some, let's go back to the tier list here, for example. Like, I have some volume on Momentum, which is a DeFi platform on Sui. Obviously, I've done volume on Pump Fund. I've done volume on MetaMask, Rabby, OpenSea. That'll be fine. Fantasy Top I've played around with, you know, stuff like that. But when you really move on to the things that I think are going to be the highest upside, which we're talking about in this video, I think you need to pour more effort into that. We saw with Meteora, this airdrop is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So many people, I saw people who are getting 1 million tokens. If it launches at $1, that's $1 million airdrop. Like, really insane airdrop that's going on here with Meteora. But I think the ones we're talking about here could end up longevity-wise being pretty comparable. You know, obviously they're backed by Jupiter. They made a lot of money during the meme coin craze, but I think stuff in the Aster ecosystem, Hyperliquid, Base, etc., there's a lot of money to be made. So I'm focusing on these specifically that I am talking about in this show. So just moving along here, Project X, if you don't know, is right now ranked number 11 by size on the Hyper EVM chain. We see here their TVL is currently 86.3 million, which you can double check here is actually higher. It's 96.5 million and 205 million of volume over the last 24 hours. What I think is more appealing than anything here is, yes, you can farm DeFi, different APRs on different LPs, but another thing where you risk impermanent loss. And in a market like this, when tokens are collapsing, it doesn't really feel good to be in different yield pools. But what you can do, you can swap tokens from any chain to Base, Abstract, BSC, I'm just naming different, Gravity, we have Kaya, Katana, Linea, Metis, Polygon, Sonic, Sui. You can trade between all of these networks right here on Project X. It's the quickest bridge that I've ever used from different chains. It's crazy how seamless this thing is. You can transfer network to network, any token in crypto. And on top of that, as you go here, every action earns airdrop points. So you're operating not only on a Hyper EVM native platform, so you're getting different Hyper EVM, activities on your wallet. So if phase 2 of the airdrop for Hyperliquid comes through, you'll qualify for the next round of the Hype airdrop. But on top of that, Project X has made a ton of fees. They're well backed. And to me, I think this is going to be one of the biggest airdrops on the Hyperliquid ecosystem. So I think this is definitely worth farming. Even if you're not providing liquidity, just do your swaps here. You will earn points towards this, and I think this will be a very lucrative airdrop whenever this does come to light. Moving on, and I want to kind of make sure you guys know, by the end of this show, some of these will be inherently more risky, okay? We're going to get into predictions markets, GambleFi even. Like, we're getting more down the risk curve here. I just want to make sure that people know this. In a few platforms, that's when that's going to begin, and that's the real degen stuff, but I think they'll pay off very hard for those who are dedicated and have a smart strategy. Next up, and I think one that is not talked about enough, and literally with just the amount that you can get on startup by just getting involved with this platform, you can be nearly the top 1.5% on this airdrop. And to me, this could hit 500 million FDV on launch, which would be very lucrative as far as an airdrop goes. This is Solstice Finance, upcoming stablecoin layer on top of Solana. But as you can see here, you can earn 15.4% APY on your yields. And this is all using stablecoins. So you can use USX or EUSX are their two native stables. You can just swap between them. Last month's returns at 14.2%, but you earn flares on this platform. And I think this will be a pretty good one. Like, you can just park your money in stables, earn yield, but on top of that, do different incentives. And like I said, just by signing up, you're already in the top 2% on this airdrop. So I would absolutely recommend, I think this is underfarmed, to be completely honest with you. It's a stable coin layer. If this comes anywhere close to as hype as Athena was, or even just a fraction of Athena's valuation, I think this will do really well. So I'll leave a link down in this description for all these platforms, really. For Aster, for Hyperliquid, for Project X, for Solstice, anything you guys want to get involved with, we will leave a link for you down below in the description. Now moving on to, like I said, inherently more risky, but if you have a strategy, you can really come out on top on these things. Next up is 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Now, we talked about this platform early. This thing rose to like 150 million market cap from when we first covered it at like 27, so at 5.5x from the first time we talked about it. And this is European football. Now they're coming out with American football, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I will be doing tons of content about this because it's on chain. You're farming the Future Fun token, so they're rebranding to Sport.Fun because they're doing basketball, football, and European football, which is going to be amazing. I'll be talking about my strategy here on the show. This is basically on-chain fantasy sports. super bullish. I play fantasy sports every day. I play sports bets, whatever the case is. This is right up my alley. So I'm going to be talking about my strategies here on the show quite a bit. But moving forward, not only can you farm the fun airdrop, I have gotten confirmation from the team that your activity on this application will also qualify you towards the base airdrop. So big opportunity here. I know people who made 6+ figures by being early on the soccer side of this, buying early Yamal, Mbappe, Harry Kane, Haaland, whatever the case is. You can do the same thing here. They're going to do pack drops. You buy players early. You set your lineup. You get free packs. Really good money-making opportunity, but also you're farming 2 tokens at once. And if we look at this tier list, obviously, I think base is by far the biggest airdrop that's on the horizon of anything. Probably Polymarket as well, but when you look at what base is probably going to be valued at, I think the base airdrop could be very lucrative, and this is definitely one to take advantage of. Like I said, I will have dedicated videos about this platform moving forward. And these next 2 are definitely risky. However, I do think they'll pay off quite nicely. And one of them is prediction markets. A lot of people think prediction markets are just gambling, which, look, it is, but there is some data behind it. Like mention markets, for example, you can just, put money, yes or no, whatever the political leaders in different places are going to say during speeches. Like today, Trump and Zelensky, whether he'll say thank you 8 times, please 8 times, Democrat 4 times, trillion, billion, million, 57% that he said it 8+ times. So you can bet on these things. And you could have an actual strategy. Like for me, I like to do these, and I like to do mention markets on football games, like what the announcers of a football game are going to say. I think that there's a lot of EV there, which is like advantage plus EV, where you have an edge on these things. If you actually are aware, find a market that suits you and dive into it. It's a very interesting side of the crypto and kind of degen industry. You could go farm stuff like 𝗪𝗓. I like using 𝗪𝗓 over Polymarket. I also think that 𝗪𝗓, if they do an airdrop per person, I think this could be bigger than a Polymarket, because Polymarket's going to be valued higher, but I think you'll get more bang for your buck by putting volume through 𝗪𝗓, because I just think it's kind of like the second platform behind what we're seeing from Polymarket. But on top of that, I would use a market like Myriad. So Myriad is built on Abstract. This is one where you can double up. They have all the major markets. If we just flow through their Twitter page, you can see here, you can bet on different crypto stuff. You can bet on, Liverpool versus Man United. You can go through here and say, will OpenSea launch its token before December? They just confirmed that it's Q1. So a lot of people are saying they cashed out on the OpenSea token. So you can literally place predictions on almost anything in the industry. And this is right on the Abstract portal. So not only can you dive into a platform like Myriad, who's doing their own airdrop, but also you can get allocation through Abstract XP by using this platform. And prediction markets are literally one of the biggest things on the timeline right now. I know so many people diving in, partnering up with predictions markets. I'm not partnered with any prediction market. I just want to throw that out there. So this is not a sponsor or anything like that. I just think this industry is such an emerging niche, and you want to look for the ones that maybe are a little undersaturated, which if you want to use a more traditional one that is probably coming out with a token, I would use 𝗪𝗓. If you want to use a full-blown on-chain double dip your airdrop between Myriad and Abstract, I'd be looking at Myriad, because you get double XP credits towards those 2 protocols. And last but not least, and yes, the absolute riskiest of all of these is Yeet. Now, I want to turn the tables back a little bit. So Rollbit, they were live. They rewarded their early users for volume. They gave out $60 million of their token to early users. Massive airdrop. Shuffle, another Web3 native airdrop that went out for early users of this casino platform, let's just say. And it was $13 million that went out. Yeet raised $7.7 million, I believe it is. I know the founders behind this. This is going to be one of the most, A, underfarmed, but B, I think very lucrative. Look, the GambleFi niche is not dead inherently with prediction markets and stuff like Yeet. It's very much alive. And I have a crazy strategy. Doesn't take a lot of money. You're not going to lose a ton of money, obviously. And in a platform like this, you have to only deposit what you're willing to play with, okay? But literally, you can set auto bets of 50 cents. You can set 100,000 auto bets, let your computer run. You can literally deposit $100 and run through it, do a game with at least a 20% edge, 1 every 5 you win, and then I've literally run through hundreds of thousands of volume. I'm near the top of the leaderboard as far as the monthly, and then my lifetime rank is climbing pretty quickly. I've ran through multiple hundreds of thousands of volume. I deposited $68. It was like what I had on a chain. I threw in some excess, like I forget the deposit that I used. I just looked through my wallet. I said, I don't use this. I'm just going to deposit it. So I deposited it on Yeet. I literally do 50-cent auto bets. I do 100,000 and I'll leave my computer on. It is literally seamless. I've not had to redeposit. Now it's a casino. You might have to, but I will tell you, you don't have to have $200,000 in there to do $200,000 of volume. And I think this will be very good. And I think it's under farmed. So this is the most degen one, but I just gave you a nice play to use auto bet, find a game that suits you with a little bit of edge, and you'll be just fine. So that's what I've been doing here on Yeet. I do it at least once a day, just let the computer run in the background, and my rank is climbing pretty quickly on this platform. So just looking through here, yeah, the ones I think are priority for me right now are Base, 𝗪𝗁. I have volume on Polymarket, so that'll be good. Monad already announced theirs, so go check the Monad airdrop checker if you are potentially allocated there. Abstract, Meteora going to be absolutely massive. We have Aster, which I think stage 3 is severely underfarmed. Project X, OpenSea, Yeet, Myriad. I think all of these are going to pay off very, very nicely. So those are the main ones I am focused on in this market. Let me know down below. Are you farming airdrops? Do you think they're overrated at this point in the market? What are you doing with your spare time in the market? I want to make sure I'm allocated when free money hits the space. And there's no better time to do it than when the market is literally just blood red across the timeline. Like, no reason to beat yourself up over these price moves. Just dive into these platforms, make sure you're allocated, and from there, we'll be able to write it up in the future whenever these platforms do go live, beginning Thursday with Meteora. So that's it for today's video, guys. I'll leave links down below for everything we talked about in today's video. Like the video down below and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. As always, play well, my friends. Farm responsibly, trade responsibly, and of course, stay bullish, my friends.